So, welcome students for the photochemistry lecture. Now we are going to see the subpoints in the chapter 3 or unit 3, and the name of chapter 3 it is the photochemistry, and you are going to learn in this chapter introduction, difference between thermal and photochemical processes that yesterday you have studied. Then today's lecture we are going to see in a detail the laws of photochemistry, and all of you know there are four laws of photochemistry. As the first law of photochemistry, it is the Grothus-Draper law, and the second law of photochemistry, it is the Einstein's law of photochemical equivalence. And now in this lecture, we are going to see in a detail what are the laws of photochemistry in detail, including the Lambert's law and Lambert's-Beer's law and Stark-Einstein's law. Then the next point in the study of photochemistry that you have to study, it is what is the quantum yield and reasons for high and low quantum yield. Then the factors affecting quantum yield, and the yesterday's lecture missing point, it is the photosensitized reactions, and for example the dissociation of H2 molecule and photosynthesis. Only this point it is remaining in the introductory lecture of the photochemistry. Then you are going to study the next point, that is the photodimerization of anthracene or polymerization of anthracene, and the decomposition of hydrogen bromide and hydrogen iodide, and these are the photochemical reactions with low quantum yield, and you are going to study these reactions in detail. Then all of you know, as already I have told you, the phenomenon of fluorescence and phosphorescence, and it is well explained with the help of Jablonski diagram. What is the intersystem crossing? Then internal conversion. What are these phenomenons? That means what are the radiative and non-radiative transitions with fluorescence and phosphorescence. You are going to study in detail with the help of Jablonski diagram, and all of you know the Jablonski diagram, it explains well all these phenomenon. Then the next point that you are going to see or study, that is the chemiluminescence. What is the chemiluminescence? That means the luminescence observed in the chemical reactions or luminescence involved in the chemical reactions. That is the chemiluminescence. Then next point, what is the electroluminescence and bioluminescence, and the last point of this chapter, it is the numerical problem. I mean, you have a clear cut idea regarding the subpoints of the chapter photochemistry. The yesterday's lecture, that is the introductory lecture, and now we are going to see one by one the next points of the chapter. Here I will repeat once again what is photochemistry, and all of you know photochemistry, it is the study of the rates of reaction as well as the mechanism of reactions for those reactions that that takes place only when the constituent molecules or substances involved in the molecule, they are incident with the electromagnetic radiation. And remember well, particularly the reaction of any matter with UV and visible region, it is particularly studied in the photochemistry. And again, remember that the photochemical reactions, they occurs due to absorption of light radiation or due to the absorption of photon. Without absorption of light radiation, photochemical reactions do not take place. This is the main difference between the ordinary reactions or dark reactions and photochemical reactions. I mean, here you can understand well the photochemistry. It mainly deals with the study of rate and mechanism of chemical reactions which occurs only when they are exposed, reactant molecules, they are exposed to the either UV or visible radiations. Then here, photochemistry in everyday life, that means how the photochemistry occurs in nature, in medicine, and in industry. All of you know, in nature, the photosynthesis process, then the subjects we can observe, we can see, it is also a photochemical reaction. Then the phototrophism, and phototrophism, it is nothing but the orientation of plants towards the direction of sunlight. Again, the ozone layer, it is also one of the example of photochemical reaction. The formation of O3 molecule by the combination of O2 oxygen molecule plus one oxygen atom. All these reactions, they takes place with the absorption of photons in the UV and visible region. Then, you know, in the medicine, the treatment of jaundice of a newborn babies, then the photodynamic theory, that is a cancer treatment. These are also a photochemical reactions. All of you know, the newborn babies, they are kept in a sunlight, and due to this, if there was a jaundice for that little baby, it will be cured. Then all of you know, in industry, the examples of photochemical reactions involved, I have cited here very few one, and that examples are photography, photopolymerization, and degradation of polymers, photocopying, and photochromism, that is the sunglasses. And these are the few examples where we can use, or there is a use of photochemical reactions. Then, as all of you know, here the photochemistry chapter, it includes the introduction, types of chemical reaction, absorption of light, laws of photochemistry, including first law, second law, Lambert's-Beer's law, etc. Then the next point here you have to study, that is the quantum yield or quantum efficiency. Then in a detail you have to study what is luminescence and different types of luminescence, and in a detail with the help of Jablonski diagram you are going to learn what is the fluorescence and phosphorescence. Then in the chapter second, that is spectroscopy, you have a clear idea what is the electromagnetic spectrum. And here The photochemistry deals with the study of chemical reactions caused by absorption of light radiations in the visible and UV region. And in this region, the wavelength lies between 200 nanometer to 800 nanometer. And the range of wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum. I mean, you are very well known what is the electromagnetic spectrum. Then, a reaction which takes place by absorption of visible and ultraviolet radiations are called as photochemical reaction. And here you have one of the example. In the in this vacuum tube, they have taken the hydrogen molecule or hydrogen gas and Cl2 gas, and only in presence of absorption of light radiation there is a formation of 2HCl. That means HCl gas is formed only when the H2 gas and Cl2 gas it is exposed to a light radiation. Without exposure of H2 and Cl2, the combination of H2 and Cl2 into HCl, it does not take place. And this reaction, it is also termed as the photosynthesis of HCl gas. Or simply remember that the photosynthesis, it is the process of formation of bigger molecule from a simple molecules, or small molecules they combine with each other in presence of light or radiation to form a bigger molecule. This is the process of photosynthesis. Then the difference between photochemical and thermochemical reactions. I will repeat this once again. The photochemical reactions involve the absorption of light radiation, and here there is no necessary of absorption of light radiations. These reactions takes place either absorption or evolution of heat. Then the second difference here, the presence of light is a primary requirement for the reactions to take place, and in case of thermochemical reaction, this reaction can take place in the dark as well as in light. Then the third distinguishing character in between photochemical and thermochemical or ordinary reactions, that is the photochemical reactions do not depend upon the temperature, while thermochemical or ordinary reactions or dark reactions, they depends on temperature, and the temperature it has a significant effect on the rate of rate of thermochemical reaction. And here the rate of photochemical reaction, remember that it does not depends on temperature. And the major difference in between the photochemical and thermochemical reaction is again the free energy for photochemical reaction or for a spontaneous reaction, it is always positive in the photochemical reactions, and here the free energy of a dark or ordinary reactions, it is always negative. Then the photochemical activation is highly selective, and here the thermochemical activation is not selective. As already I have told you what is the selective nature of photochemical reaction, I will explain you in the next point. Then our today's point here, the laws of photochemistry. The first law of photochemistry, it is called as, or it is the Grotthuss-Draper law. And the statement of Grotthuss-Draper law or first law of photochemistry it, it may be stated as only the light which is absorbed by a molecule can be effective in producing photochemical changes in the molecule. And the significance of this statement, it is that only the light absorbed which produces a photochemical change. It is the important, and it does not mean that all the absorbed light it may produce a chemical change. It may produce or it may not produce the chemical change. It depends on the molecule, whether that molecule is photochemically active or photochemically inactive. And the photochemically active molecules, they are able to absorb the light radiation, and photochemically inactive molecules, they do not able to absorb the light radiation. Here, this is the Grothus-Draper law. Photochemical reactions occurs only when the light is absorbed by a molecule. Then and then the photochemical reactions occurs. Without absorption of light, the photochemical reactions do not occur or do not convert reactants into product. This is also called as the first law of photochemistry. Then the Stark-Einstein's law, or the second law of photochemistry, and the statement of the second law, it is that for each photon of light absorbed by a chemical system, only when one molecule is activated for a photochemical reaction, the energy absorbed by 1 mole of the reacting molecule is given by E, it is equal to NH nu, and this energy is called as 1 Einstein energy. And the significance of this Stark-Einstein's law, it is that in the primary process of photochemical reaction, each and every molecule has to absorb one photon. That means the number of photons absorbed, it is equal to the number of molecules reacted, and the ratio of the number of photons ratio of number of molecules reacted to the number of photons absorbed. This ratio explains the quantum efficiency of the photochemical reaction. So this law, second law of photochemistry, it is also called as the law of photochemical equivalence. And according to this law, each and every photochemical reaction, it has a unit quantum efficiency. But it is not true. Some photochemical reactions, they occurs with less quantum efficiency. That means 0.5 quantum efficiency or 0.02, very low quantum efficiency than 1. And in the other hand, there are some photochemical reactions that takes place with very high quantum yield, and it is in the order of 10 raised to 4 to 10 raised to 6. For example, the photochemical reaction between H2 molecule and Cl2 molecule, it has a quantum yield and it is in the order of 10 raised to 6. Then in this equation E, it is the energy associated with 1 Einstein. Capital N is the Avogadro number and H is a Planck's constant, and here nu, it is a frequency of radiation. And all of you know the frequency, it is the ratio of velocity of light divided by wavelength of the light. Then Here in this slide, it is shown that the fundamental theories of photochemistry. Here, Grotthuss-Draper law, it is the it is stated as only that light which is absorbed by a system can cause a chemical change. Then the Stark-Einstein's law, it, it may be stated as one quantum of light is absorbed per molecule of absorbing and reacting substance that disappears or that may get converted into product. And diagrammatically, the Beer-Lambert's law, it is shown in this diagram. Here, this is your cuvette, a transparent. It is made up of quartz glass, and suppose I0, it is the intensity of incident light, and the path length or the here the absorbing medium, it has a length L, and C, it is a concentration. And when incident light, it passes through this absorbing solution having the length of absorbing medium, it is equal to A, it is equal to L, and concentration C. Then the transmitted light, it has an intensity I1. That is the intensity of the transmitted light, it decreases. And the Lambert's law, it is stated as when a homogeneous light, it is incident, or a monochromatic light, it is incident on a absorbing medium. Again, that absorbing medium, it must be homogeneous. Then the rate of change of intensity of absorbing medium, it is directly proportional to the path length or length of absorbing medium. And the transmittance, here the fraction of light that is transmitted after absorbed light, it is given by the ratio of intensity of light transmitted through the absorbing medium, that is I divided by I0. And this is the fraction of light that is transmitted, and it may be written as 10 raised to minus alpha into L, where this alpha is called as extinction coefficient, and the value of extinction coefficient, it is equal to minus K by 2.303. For next lecture, we will see what is the extinction coefficient, and it may be written as 10 raised to minus epsilon into L into C, where L, it is a path length and C, it is a concentration. And the Stark's Lambert's ideas, they are applied to the concentration of solution, and Beer formulated the Lambert's-Beer's law, and according to the combination of Lambert's-Beer's law, here I divided by I0, it is nothing but the transmittance, and it is equal to 10 raised to minus epsilon L into C, where epsilon, it is a molar extinction coefficient, and it is equal to absorbance of the solution. Then how we can represent the Lambert's law, Beer's law, and how will you determine the relationship between absorbance, transmittance, then opacity, it mathematically we will see later on. Then in a brief, the quantum yield, to express the extent of photochemical reaction or efficiency of a photochemical reaction. Here, the number of molecules reacting per quantum energy absorbed to the number of moles reacting per Einstein's of energy absorbed, and this ratio it gives the quantum yield or quantum efficiency, or at what extent that photochemical reaction occurs. It is explained with quantum yield, and it may be written as phi. This is the notation for quantum yield. Phi, it is equal to number of molecules reacting in a given time divided by number of quanta of light absorbed in the same time, or it may also be written as phi, it is equal to number of molecules reacting in a given time divided by number of Einstein of light absorbed in the same time. This is in a brief what is the quantum yield. Simply remember that quantum yield, it explains at what extent a photochemical reaction occurs, and this is a mere number. Quantum yield, this is a mere number. It is the ratio of number of molecules reacted to the number of Einsteins absorbed. This ratio, it gives the quantum efficiency of the photochemical reaction. Then we will see later on what is the experimental determination of quantum yield. Today I have some problem regarding the preparation of Lambert's-Beer's law, mathematical derivations, and how we can explain the uh, absorbance, then what is the transmittance, what is the opacity, what is the extinction coefficient. All these terminologies are explained, and we will derive a mathematical expression for Lambert's law, Beer's law, and by combining these two laws we will have a Lambert's-Beer's law. So we will see today's lecture, the mathematical derivation of the Lambert's-Beer's law.